Today's reading is from Genesis chapters 10 and 11. These chapters belong together. They explain the origin of the nations. Today, we're going to look back on the history of how man filled the earth and spread out over the earth. And in Genesis chapter 11, we're going to see the Tower of Babel, where God confused the language. And you're going to see that God used this Tower of Babel incident to cause man to spread out all over the earth, and he created the nations. What's amazing about that is that God will use the nations. He will raise up the nations, and the nations will bring him glory. We will see beginning in Genesis chapter 12, he will raise up the nation of Israel, from whom the Messiah will come. So today, as we read these two chapters, I suggest that you consider what God has done in this world, and that we have answers for why we came to be. We have answers for world history. We know that there was a flood, and we know that there was a tower. We know that God confused the languages, and that's where the nations came from. As you read this, I hope you will see God's faithfulness, his continued faithfulness, and you will understand that he will continually be faithful, even to you today. So let's read Genesis chapters 10 and 11. Now these are the generations of Shem, Ham, and Japheth, the sons of Noah, and sons were born to them after the flood. The sons of Japheth were Gomer, and Magog, and Madai, and Javan, and Tubal, and Melchek, and Tiras. The sons of Gomer were Ashkenaz, and Riphath, and Togarmah. The sons of Javan were Elishah, and Tarshish, and Kittim, and Dodanim. From these the coastlands of the nations were separated into their land, every one according to his tongue, according to their families, into their nations. The sons of Ham were Cush, and Mizraim, and Put, and Canaan. And the sons of Cush were Seba, and Havilah, and Sabta, and Raamah, and Sabteka. And the sons of Raamah were Sheba and Dedan. Now Cush was the father of Nimrod. He began to be a mighty one on the earth. He was a mighty hunter before Yahweh. Therefore it is said, like Nimrod, a mighty hunter before Yahweh. The beginning of his kingdom was Babel, and Erech, and Akkad, and Calneh in the land of Shinar. From that land he went out to Assyria, and built Nineveh, and Rehoboth, and Calah, and Rezin, and Nineveh, and Calah, that is a great city. Mizraim was the father of Ludum, and Anamim, and Lahabim, and Naphtahim, and Pathrusim, and Casluhim, from whom came the Philistines, and Caphtorim. Canaan was the father of Sidon, his firstborn, and Heth, and the Jebusite, and the Amorite, and the Girgashite, and the Hivite, and the Archite, and the Sinite, and the Arvadite, and the Zimmerite, and the Hamathite. And afterward the families of the Canaanites were scattered. The border of the Canaanite extended from Sidon, as you go to Gerar, as far as Gaza, as you go towards Sodom and Gomorrah, and Admah, and Zobaim, as far as Lasha. These are the sons of Ham, according to their families, according to their tongues, by their lands, by their nations. Also to Shem, the father of all children of Eber, and the older brother of Japheth, children were born. The sons of Shem were Elam, and Asher, and Apakshad, and Lud, and Aram. The sons of Aram were Uz, and Hul, and Gether, and Mash. Apakshad was the father of Shelah, and Shelah was the father of Eber. Now 2 sons were born to Eber. The name of the one was Peleg, for in his days the earth was divided. And his brother's name was Joktan. And Joktan was the father of Almadad, and Shaleth, and Hazar Maveth, and Jerah, and Hadoram, and Uzal, and Diklah, and Obal, and Abimiel, and Sheba, and Ophir, and Havilah, and Jobab. All these were the sons of Joktan. Now their settlement extended from Mesha as you go toward Sephir, the hill country of the east. These are the sons of Shem, according to their families, according to their tongues, by their lands, according to their nations. These are the families of the sons of Noah, according to their generations, by their nations, and out of these nations were separated on the earth after the flood. Genesis 10, verse 1.
Now the whole earth had the same language and the same words. And it happened as they journeyed east that they found a plain in the land of Shinar and settled there. Then they said to one another, "Come, let us make bricks and burn them thoroughly." And they had brick for stone, and they had tar for mortar. And they said, "Come, let us build for ourselves a city, and a tower whose top will reach into heaven. And let us make for ourselves a name, lest we be scattered over the face of the whole earth." Then Yahweh came down to see the city and the tower which the sons of men had built. And Yahweh said, "Behold, they are one people, and they all have the same language. And this is what they have begun to do. So now nothing which they purpose to do will be impossible for them. Come, let us go down, and there confuse their language, so that they will not understand one another's language." So Yahweh scattered them from there over the face of the whole earth, and they stopped building the city. Therefore its name was called Babel, because there Yahweh confused the language of the whole earth. And from there Yahweh scattered them over the face of the whole earth. These are the generations of Shem. Shem was 100 years old and became the father of Arpachshad, 2 years after the flood. And Shem lived 500 years after he became the father of Arpachshad, and he became the father of other sons and daughters. And Arpachshad lived 35 years and became the father of Shelah. And Arpachshad lived 403 years after he became the father of Shelah, and he became the father of other sons and daughters. And Shelah lived 30 years after he became the father of Eber. And Shelah lived 403 years after he became the father of Eber, and he became the father of other sons and daughters. And Eber lived 34 years after he became the father of Peleg. And Eber lived 430 years after he became the father of Peleg, and he became the father of other sons and daughters. And Peleg lived 30 years and became the father of Reu. And Peleg lived 209 years after he became the father of Reu, and he became the father of other sons and daughters. And Reu lived 32 years and became the father of Serug. And Reu lived 270 years after he became the father of Serug, and he became the father of other sons and daughters. And Serug lived 30 years and became the father of Nahor. And Serug lived 200 years after he became the father of Nahor, and he became the father of other sons and daughters. Nahor lived 29 years and became the father of Terah. And Nahor lived 119 years after he became the father of Terah, and he became the father of other sons and daughters. And Terah lived 70 years after he became the father of Abram, Nahor, and Haran. Now these are the generations of Terah. Terah became the father of Abram, Nahor, and Haran became the father of Lot. And Haran died in the presence of Terah his father in the land of his birth, in Ur of the Chaldeans. Abram and Nahor took wives for themselves. The name of Abram's wife was Sarai, and the name of Nahor's wife was Milcah, the daughter of Haran, the father of Milcah and the father of Iscah. And Sarai was barren, she had no child. And Terah took Abram his son, and Lot the son of Haran, his grandson, and Sarai his daughter-in-law, his son Abram's wife. And they went out together from Ur of the Chaldeans in order to go to the land of Canaan. And they came as far as Haran and settled there. And the days of Terah were 205 years, and Terah died in Haran.